trade deadline. The Jump will have you covered with all the breaking news. Expert analysis, and in-the-moment moves as we cross right over the deadline. Don't miss the Jump's trade deadline special Thursday, March 25th at 2 Eastern on ESPN. Welcome back. We are, in fact, only 2 days away from the deadline, coming Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern. So Vincent Perk still with me from the respective homes, but it's also time for another installment of Where in the World is Brian Windhorst? That's the best Carmen Sandiego I can do. Brian, where are you at?
Well, Rachel, I am at Walt Disney World, where dreams come true in Orlando, Florida. And I will say that they are looking forward to your annual 3-month stay, which will begin later this summer. I've already booked the room for you, and the room service menu has not changed, so you'll be right at home. But the Magic, however, in nearby downtown Orlando have a different set of priorities. They are in sell mode. Now, from talking to league executives, Aaron Gordon, we know, is available. Evan Fournier is definitely available. Nikola Vucevic is not available. They're all-stars. So Fournier and Gordon potentially on the move by Thursday. Now, Gordon has been a guy who 7 or 8 teams have made offers for. A team to keep an eye on is the Boston Celtics. The Celtics have first-round picks that they can offer. And also, from what I've been told, Marcus Smart, who's been one of their most prized players in the heart and soul of the team, has been willing to be discussed by the Celtics. Now, whether or not that's the type of package that Orlando wants, we'll see. But after really being on the fence about trading Aaron Gordon for the last year and a half, I think there's a good chance this is the time that he will get moved.
Perk, I know that you like the Aaron Gordon to the Celtics possibility. Would you give up Marcus Smart in that deal, though?
Well, here it is, Rachel, is that I never thought that I would be traded. And you done heard plenty of times that on that 08 Celtics team that I was the heart and soul. The guys gravitated around me, even though KG brought the tenacity. But look, the Celtics are in a bad spot right now. And when you have a chance to get better and upgrade, you have to look at all possibilities. When you look at Aaron Gordon, he's shooting 40% from the three, 6'9", athletic, could play well without the ball, a slasher to the basket. And by the way, come postseason time, if the Celtics make the playoffs, he is a guy that you could take a lot of pressure off of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and put on a guy like Giannis or put on a guy like Kevin Durant. So if you're Danny Ainge, you got to look for improvement. Right now, the Celtics are sitting at the 8th seed, 1 game below 500. Something got to shake.
Hey, I agree with you on something has to shake. You know, I know they have options. I know John Collins' name has been thrown around in there, but you know, let's think back to the bubble and what Marcus Smart did for the Boston Celtics. His energy, his effort, when Brown or Tatum didn't have it, we watched Marcus Smart shoot the three, take over the game with his energy and effort. That's a guy that, like you said, like he is the backbone to this team. And, you know, if you got to do it, you have to do it. But that's a guy I think he could put gas in the back of Brown and Tatum and get those guys to play like they need to play. And we watched that in the bubble last year. And I feel like he's so important to their team.
He is, Rachel and Vince, but here's another thing. Marcus Smart, he has 1 year left on his deal, okay? You got Aaron Gordon, who has 2 years left on his deal, and I believe he's only 25 years of age. Mm-hmm. And right now, that position, that height, that athleticism, you can't find that everywhere. I mean, and right now, I wouldn't be saying this if the Celtics were a top 5 team, but 1 game below 500, right now, they have not lived up to expectations. And so with Danny, I know that the way that the Boston fans feel, the organization, it's not about just making the playoffs with them. With these 2 superstars, they feel like they need to be making it to the promised land. And sometimes you got to make those tough decisions and see how it pan out.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the price for Aaron Gordon ends up being, in fact, expensive for the Celtics or anyone else. Brian Windhorst said on his podcast that he expected Portland possibly to be a destination for them. So we'll have to see if there's a bidding war coming out. The reason I'm referring to Brian that way is because he's busy moving his suitcase. Brian, where are you now?
right nearby in Los Angeles, California,
Aw, I like
at
when you
the
visit.
walking boot capital
And you
of
move
the
fast.
NBA, I'm sorry to say, at the Lakers facility here in El Segundo. So the Lakers have been working the phone since the LeBron injury, looking for wing players. The problem is that they don't really have a heck of a lot to offer. They have discussed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in trade scenarios, but they are not willing to, from what I am told, they are not willing to include a draft pick or their best young player, which is Talen Horton-Tucker. And if they're without those two things to grease, I don't know if they're going to get the kind of wing that could really make a difference. Their big upgrade, guys, could end up being Andre Drummond. If he is not traded by the Cavs by Thursday, the expectation is he will get bought out and could sign with the Lakers and become their starting center. So that might be their move, is in the buyout market if they can't find something in the wing market.
So, Perk, if the Lakers do get Drummond, how much would that move the needle for you, knowing that LeBron is going to be out for a bit and AD's still out for a while, too?
Oh, tremendously. This is what the Lakers has been missing since they took for granted Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. Andre Drummond provides that live threat at the basket. He provides that shot blocking, that dynamic role to open up the lane. I would also look at J.J. Redick in the buyout market. I know he's not playing well for the Pelicans, but if he goes to the Lakers, he's going to be re-energized and looking forward to playing with them, and he's a spacer. So although he may not be getting touches, he may not get shots, he is a hell of a decoy to open up the paint for Braun, Dennis Schroeder, Anthony Davis when the Lakers do get healthy. So Andre Drummond definitely moves the needle for them, and J.J. Redick.
I agree. Andre Drummond is definitely a great fit. And, you know, outside of all of the things that you said, Perk, he also gets them extra possession. So if you do get a J.J. Redick, well, yeah, he's not playing well with the Pelicans, but on a team where you have an AD LeBron, you'll get more open shots. And then you add Drummond, you get that rebound and kick out open three, which he knocks down. Even if you have somebody like J.J. Redick running off of threes, like you said, to be the decoy, after a while, you're going to have to give up something. It's usually going to be J.J. Redick before you give up something to AD or LeBron. So, back to Drummond, which I think he would fit great, and he would move the needle because they need some shot blocking, they need some size, and they need extra possessions.
Well, Frank Vogel made it very clear the other night they are exploring every option possible before the deadline and then in the buyout market that will follow. Brian, you wanted to hit one more city. Where are you now, friend?
I'm in the French Quarter, Rachel, someplace that I know is one of your favorite places in the country here in New Orleans. They've got one of the more intriguing players heading into this trade deadline, and that's Lonzo Ball. David Griffin, the team's general manager, has expressed an interest and willingness to listen to offers for him. Teams like the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, and even the Denver Nuggets, I have heard, have shown interest in offers. But Griffin's price is high. He's looking for a first-round pick and another player, preferably a young prospect. Does that standard get met by Thursday? I don't know, but he will be a restricted free agent, and it's possible that this could be laying the groundwork for a sign and trade over the summer, especially potentially with the Chicago Bulls. That could be what this is all about here with Lonzo Ball.
I mean, look, if I was David Griffin, I wouldn't necessarily give up Lonzo Ball. I really like the fit between him and Zion, but you mentioned Atlanta in that mix, Brian. Why would the Hawks want another point guard?
Good question. I don't know, but I heard from a pretty reliable source that decision that's been discussed. The Hawks, by the way, have had their fingers out there in a lot of different pies, examining how they can upgrade their team, even though they've won 9 of their last 10 games. So, keep an eye on them. It may just be a number of things that they're looking at, trying to, right now, top 4 seed is not out of the realm of possibility for the Hawks.
Well, Vince, you are our Hawks insider in free agency. I know you knew everything about that team.
Hey, real quick, they could, getting Lonzo Ball can move Trey to the shooting guard sometimes too. Letting Trey play off the ball, something to think about.
See, I told you, our Hawks insider. Vince hit everyone in free agency, by the way. He had every name right. Just saying. A little bit of an inside track there. Brian, thank you so much. We will see you back here Thursday for our trade deadline special. Who knows where you'll be coming from that day. Coming up, guys, later on this show, we're talking more LaMelo Ball. His rookie season, unfortunately, that injury, it was just heartbreaking when I saw what would happen. Has he done enough to solidify his campaign for Rookie of the Year? Check out Poku on the bench. Perk, can you do this dance? Just take a look at what he does here. There's some knees.
Rachel, the only problem is that I can't dance at all, so any type of movement help me out. But I didn't understand what kind of dance that was. I didn't know if he was, doing the stanky leg or doing the butterfly or the tootsie roll. I don't know what that was.
He put those together,
that
Perk.
wasn't today's dance, okay? That wasn't what we doing today, all right?
That's kind of what Luka and Boban were doing a few weeks ago together, right? No?
Yeah, see, he put a couple of dances together.
Yeah. I'm all for happiness this year. Let's live and let live, man. Hot flips, hesitation, miss Luke Kennard at the end of the third Euro steps and then drains it from half court. That was huge momentum swing, too, for the Clippers in that game. Vince, do you wish more guys would try to get shots up at the buzzer for the quarter?
I mean, I was one of the guys, I didn't really care about my percentage. And I'm going to start by saying that because that's how we segue into this. Because guys didn't want to take that shot because they're like, man, if I shoot this, my 3-point percentage goes down. But like, hey, I play for coaches like, you don't know what type of momentum swing that is if you make that shot. You never know if you don't shoot it.
Especially guys that were in contract years.
Oh, yeah, with the numbers? Absolutely. No, you look, and I get that to a degree. If teams are going to use those numbers against you, that being said, yeah, let's go Luke Kennard on that one. Make 360s. Raptors, Rockets. Check out the 360 layup by John Wall. We talked about this earlier in the show. Perk, you got to be so happy he's still got this in his bag, right?
Absolutely. Rachel, look, this is his signature move. The 360 layup should be John Wall's signature move. He has done this on tons of bases, even with DC. Look at it. I'm just mad that I couldn't do it. What's wrong, BC?
No, I mean, we've seen a few people do this now. John Wall has done it a couple of times.
Like Vince Carter, maybe, do
We've
this?
seen an
like
old
Vince
guy,
Carter?
like right here, baby. Hey, but Perk, I went the other way, though. I had to go the other way.
Yeah, but BC, you wasn't doing it.
I had to,
Yeah, but BC, look, you wasn't doing layups on a consistent basis. A lot of times you was
You're right. No, you're 100% right. 100% right.
Durability, Ohio Creighton. Ben Vander Plas trying to D up and blows through his shoe. We saw this last year with Zion, but does this man need some shocks?
Wait, we got to get him some. Oh, those are. Hey, he got on Adidas.
Right. Well, look at you got the shocks there, the Nike shocks.
Not only that's the nice shocks there. Yeah, that's the gold medal shocks right there, baby.
Rachel,
yes, but yeah,
Rachel,
not only did he
didn't have
his orthotics.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
Go ahead,
Rachel. Even if you didn't have shots, you would put them on your feet. You would think you would have hops because you had the shocks on your feet.
Hey, you were trying to. Hey, you got to stimulate the mind. You got to make you believe, baby.
Right. That's right. Right. I would say that it's 90% mental. Again, though, to revisit what we said at the top of the show, there's nothing that could make me dunk. Make befuddlement. Back to Minnesota. Nightmare sequence here. Theo Maledon missed layup, then missed dunk. How does this happen?
Trick Daddy again.
Just too much anxiety.
Yeah.
Here it is. I think, he's a rookie. He's just trying too hard. Just lay the ball up, man. Just lay the ball up.
Perk, look here. If you look at the beginning, he was caught in the middle of, I'm just going to lay it up, but man, I'm high enough, I'm going to dunk it. And got caught in between, right there. Caught in between. So now he's embarrassed. He's like, man, go ahead, two-hand dunk it. But he didn't jump high enough. He didn't jump high enough.
That was rough.
You see the rebound? Okay, you ever go ahead and funk it? Trick Daddy Dollars.
Hey, Rachel and Vince, like my grandma used to say.
Put this young man out of his misery here. Let's switch gears over to the Warriors. Steve Kerr stood by his recent comments on the Ringer podcast, The Real Ones, with Raja Bell and Logan Murdoch, but in a particular way. He made it clear that he said that he felt coaching last year's Warriors team was more enjoyable than coaching the team that went to the 2019 finals. He did not like this framing of this tweet, though. He said, Bay Area media member taking the quote out of context, tried to make it seem like Kerr was taking a shot at Kevin Durant. KD, of course, saw the tweet and replied, quote, "This is hilarious." Here's Kerr ahead of yesterday's game explaining why he said what he said, but did not mean it the way it was portrayed in the tweet. Take a listen.
to take that comment and put it into a tweet and send it out into the universe was so irresponsible and damaging. And I'm angry. And I know what's going to happen. I know this is going to be taken out onto the morning shows, and people are going to be talking about it, and they're going to use what they think is a quote that is actually something that's completely made up. I'm not happy. I think it's wrong.
Well, look, it's not going to be taken out of context in that way because he made that statement. And now everybody is clear of sort of the way he was talking was about sort of the larger picture of the strain of 5 years next to sort of the lighter mood when you have younger guys who don't have anything to lose or win, frankly. So, Perk, how do you think those KD area Warriors will be remembered given the way Steve Kerr actually talked about them, not just what was sort of framed in a different way in a tweet?
Well, first of all, Kevin Durant personally should be remembered as a two-time NBA champion and a two-time Finals MVP and part of a dynasty and helped the Golden State Warriors bring home 2 championships. That's the first thing. The Warriors should be looked at as one of the best dynasties in the NBA, in the NBA history. But here's the problem that I have with Steve Kerr, okay? It's not like I went back and listened to that podcast and Logan Murdoch didn't ask him this. He volunteered this information. Here's my thing. Why are you still talking about this anyway? Not from just Steve Kerr, from the whole Golden State Warriors organization. Move on. That was 2 years ago. Y'all had a great run. See what's going on now in the present. What's in the future. Quit living in the past. Let Kevin Durant be. Because in my opinion, it did look like a shot towards Kevin Durant. And Steve Kerr didn't have to volunteer that information. So whether or not he feel like everyone else is taking it out of context, if it was me and I was Kevin Durant, I would feel the exact same way. Because when I read it and then I listened to the pod and I said, oh, he volunteered this information, it sounded like a slug to me. So instead of Steve Kerr coming on here and giving that explanation, he should have came on there, just held himself accountable and said, I shouldn't have said that, period.
I tell you what, I'll say this, though. I mean, listening to Steve Kerr talk, when he sits up there and he, like I said, volunteers this is a coach that is very comfortable with and secure with his coaching job. He knows that he's good. He's good because most coaches, first of all, they're not going to come out and say that about, I enjoyed losing in my season last year, then winning a championship back to back when you have like a Kevin Durant. You see what I'm saying? So because most coaches find that stressful because I tell you what, with the team that you had, and then you're gifted you're gifted a Kevin Durant who does what he did and accomplished what he accomplished with that team. I mean, happy birthday, because you got to think about this. Look at now a situation because, and I say this because they won prior to Kevin coming there. Look at a situation now like Steve Nash, who is gifted, but he has more pressure, in his back pocket with the squad that he has. So, Steve Kerr didn't have that pressure because they had already won a championship, and now you have that team plus Kevin Durant. Oh, life is good. Life is good. So he can speak that way. And I just think, like you said, he volunteered it. Let it be.
Look,
Steve Kerr know he was sleeping well that night, Rachel, knowing that he had Kevin Durant on his team. Don't come fool me with all that.
Well, look, that era of the Warriors will be, I think, discussed forever. It was such an unusual team. It was such an unusual conditions and circumstances. And I do like the fact that I was in the building when Kevin came back to San Francisco, to the Bay Area for the first time earlier this season. Since he left as a free agent, he got an extremely warm reception from the Warriors as a franchise, from the few people who were allowed to be in the building that night. They played a little video for him and said they were going to play another longer one. You contrast that to what happened after he left Oklahoma City, Perk, firsthand, and just sort of the emotions there. So I think the relationship between all those guys, it's not perfect, clearly, but it's not quite as fractured as sometimes people want to make it out to be. And you guys make also very good points about the security of a coach who is able to say the things that Steve Kerr said. All right, here's what the Jump recommends for today, friends. The 2021 deadline, just 2 days away. Our insiders have a piece discussing what should and what will happen at the trade deadline. Check that out. Brian Windhorst joins us in the next segment to talk a little bit more spice and rumors. We're going to get into the Lakers, the Orlando taking flight, and finish this alley-oop with the left hand. Look how high he gets here. So, Vince, as a leaper yourself, do you think Ja planned this, or this was a midair kind of decision?
Absolutely not. It was unscripted. It's jump up in the air and I'll figure it out up there, depending on how my guy throws the ball. If he throws it high, I go higher. If he throws it behind me, whatever, and I adjust.
If someone threw it really, really low, like 4 inches off the ground, that's when I could. No, I can't. There's nothing that would make me dunk. I'm 5'4". It just would never happen. Welcome to The Jump, friends. I'm Rachel Nichols, very, very small human, joined by giants next to me, NBA champ Kendrick Perkins, and the 8-time All-Star who played for 22 record seasons, Mr. Vince Carter. Welcome, gentlemen. Coming up, we're going to be talking Steve Kerr. He clarified his comments on a podcast about coaching last year's team versus the Dynasty team the year before. We'll discuss how those Warriors will, in fact, be remembered. First, though, players who've won titles will often say they're forever tied to the guys on their team, that going through such an intense experience together bonds you in ways that never fade. So is the same true when you go through an intense experience in the other direction? If your team goes, I don't know, say 20 games without a win, 16 of those losses by double digits, with 15 different starting lineups, 46 straight days of waking up day after day, do you feel, well, actually, no one has to guess how that feels. Here's the clip of Rockets coach Stephen Silas that went viral after Houston's 20th straight loss on Sunday night.
Hey, Coach. Tough one as the streak kind of continues. Did you feel your team getting, tight at all down the stretch? Do you feel like the weight of these losses is kind of building?
Yeah.
The intensity of Silas's anguish there was just palpable. So much it sparked NBA coaches past and present to get in touch to offer support. Steve Kerr, Don Nelson, Luke Walton, Doug Collins all reached out. Doc Rivers called to tell Silas about the time his Celtics lost 18 straight and then won the title the next year. Now, I'm not sure that is in Houston's immediate future, but here is what happened next. When the Rockets took the court again last night, still missing Victor Oladipo, by the way, they managed to look like a functional basketball team. They got both style and substance from John Wall. This Put It in the Louvre 360 was part of John's first triple-double in 5 years. They also got this halftime buzzer beater from Daniel House. Money! And when the final buzzer sounded, they also got, yes, a win. And you could see the joy all over. Yes, that was former Rocket turned TV analyst Calvin Murphy there. The man is 72 years old and as amazing as ever, just saying. Also afterward, Coach Silas, again, this time smiling so widely, you could actually kind of see it through his mask.
To go in the locker room after today's game and everybody's just happy and joyous. It really, it's super cool and great and whatever. I was down and out yesterday. It seems like a week ago right now, but we regroup, we come together, and it feels a lot better.
Silas noting how his players had come together through all that adversity, and I certainly believe that. Although now that Houston has finally snapped its losing streak, right up next on the docket is Thursday's trade deadline, which could see several of those same players shipped to parts unknown. The Rockets are in an interesting position, thanks in part to their losing streak. They are now one of the few teams in the NBA with no illusions about a postseason run. That puts them firmly in the sellers category, and since there are such a small number of sellers with more buyers than ever, they can raise their asking prices. We know Oladipo is most certainly on his way out. He has been on the block pretty much since the moment he was acquired in January, and there could easily be more. In fact, the guys responsible for hanging through and then finally snapping Houston's losing streak could easily never again be on the court together. And while no, they won't share anything close to a championship bond, my guess is the intensity of what they just went through will indeed be something they always remember. So, Vince, let's talk a little bit more about Oladipo. With just 2 days until the trade deadline, what team do you think needs Victor Oladipo the most with a realistic chance of getting him?
There's a few teams that probably need him, and I know Perk is going to come up with a few, but I think the Knicks can use him. They can use a veteran guard that has the ability to score, that is proven to score. He just has to get healthy. But I think with what Julius Randle is doing and the way that he is playing, Oladipo will be a great complement to that roster and to Julius Randle. You can play him at the point guard. He's played some point guard. Obviously, he's a scorer. He can score. He's been an all-star. So he knows what it takes and can fulfill that role. So I think the Knicks is one stop for him that could possibly make a little noise for them.
Well, to me, Rachel, when I'm looking at this situation, I think that the best place for Victor Oladipo, in my opinion, is the Golden State Warriors, right? You could trade him for Andrew Wiggins and maybe Kelly Oubre. That's clearing up a lot of cap space. Andrew Wiggins making $30+ million a year. And then you convince him with the culture that the Golden State Warrior has that to re-sign back. And then next year you have a three-headed monster and Steph Curry, Victor Oladipo, and Klay Thompson, along with a Draymond Green and a James Wiseman. That is a nice starting five. So I'm really considering, if I'm the Warriors, acquiring him, because I think that's a team that you could call a title contender. And by the way, if I'm Victor Oladipo, I would love to go to the Warriors, just for the simple fact that you're not going to go play with any other superstars right now like Klay and Steph Curry. So why not go there, embrace that culture? They get back to winning ways, get back to where they trying to go, to the promised land and winning championships, because the way that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson play, not relying on their athleticism, both of those guys have at least 5 to 6 years left in their tank of good basketball.
Well, I like that both of you are suggesting teams that aren't necessarily win right now this year teams, because Vic is still working his way back from that injury. We have seen several other players take more than a year in some cases to really become themselves again. And look, with the Golden State fit, obviously, then you have a team that is, waiting more this year, but next year, boom, you're right, Perk, he's right back there with stars. It's interesting, though. Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted just today talking about the Heat and Knicks, who have both been contenders for Oladipo's services as well. Maybe they're a little bit more reluctant, although, Vince, I agree with you on that Knicks fit. Very interesting, but again, affirming Houston is likely moving Oladipo before the deadline. So, gonna be interesting. Certainly the hottest name you will hear over the next 48 hours is Victor Oladipo. And congratulations, of course, also to Houston for snapping that streak. All right, let's switch over. Some sad news today out of Los Angeles. Yesterday, so many people around the globe, frankly, mourning Elgin Baylor, an 11-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA selection who died yesterday of natural causes. Baylor played his entire 14-year career with the Lakers, scoring 27 points per game in that time, the third best mark in NBA history. I want to say that again, the third best in NBA history. He is one of 4 players in league history to average 25 a game and 10 rebounds over his career. He's also one of the league's original high flyers. I asked him about his playing style back when he was on the show a couple years ago. Take a listen. Could you kind of take us through when you first started playing the way you did and just hanging as you went above the rim and playing above the rim? What was the reaction of the other players in the league?
I don't know, because I never was conscious of it or even really, I'm not downgrading players, but I never even thought about it, what I was doing. Because when you play, and I'm sure he feels the same way, the defense is going to dictate to what you're doing, how he's guarding you. Sometimes you do something that you've never done before. So you really don't know. And I don't know. It's nothing I practice on. I never go out there and try to practice different shots, maybe shoot free throws. But when I play, whatever the way the guys guard me, he's determined, really, the defense. If he's playing good defense, determine what you're going to do, what kind of shot you're going to take. You don't go out there with this mind that you're going to do certain things, because it doesn't really work. And you can't play that way. You shouldn't be playing that way. You should let the game, come to you.
Sit around and listen to that man talk basketball all day. He's from the same area where I grew up in Washington, D.C., although at the time it was segregated, made his way through incredibly difficult circumstances to be who he is. 8 NBA Finals appearances. Now, he never won a title, but he also blazed a trail off the court, serving as general manager of the Clippers for more than 2 decades, winning Executive of the Year in 2006, which is quite a feat for the LA Clippers. Perk, did you ever get the chance to meet Elgin Baylor?
I did, Rachel. And you know, I'm an 80s baby, so I didn't get a chance to actually watch Elgin Baylor play. I just heard a lot about him. And I remember my second year in the league, we were in LA, and I remember Doc was saying, hey, I was walking out, he said, Perk, do you know who this is? And I looked and I said, he said, well, this is an all-time great. This is Elgin Baylor. You better come up here. And I instantly was like, I had to lie on the moment and say, yeah, I know who he is, Doc. That's the great Elgin Baylor. I heard so much about you. I'm Kendrick Perkins. It's an honor to meet you. This, that, and the other. And Doc just kind of, when we got on the bus, I remember Doc was kind of making fun of me, like, you got to know your history, Perk, with a little, that little wise guy crack a little smile or laugh he does. But met him, I got a chance to introduce myself. And it's always because we're always in those tunnels as young guys, and we always running across greats that were before our time. And any time that you could pay homage and respect, that carries a long way. And I will always cherish that moment.
Vince, what about you?
Yeah, and I got the opportunity to meet him I got the chance to meet him one time also playing the Clippers many, many years ago. And same thing, I'm not a historian, but when history is in front of me, I have a great appreciation for it. I know he was legendary and I knew, what he did for the game. And, Dr. J is obviously one of my heroes, and I've gotten the opportunity to talk about basketball and dunking, and we've done some things together talking about dunking. And the one person he named and stamped as the originator of the high flyer, Rachel, you said it, Elgin Baylor. He's one of the original high flyers, and we don't see a lot of film and tape on it, but let it be known, he was one of the original high flyers, and he deserves a lot of credit for what has transpired for Dr. J, MJ, myself. I mean, the laundry list of players that we consider high flyers of today's game.
Yeah, not just one of the best to ever do it, and he was, but the guy who invented that style of play. That is so huge. Elgin was 86 years old, and you saw just a few seconds ago, the statue that the Lakers unveiled that's right across from our studios here. I think there should also be a statue of him in D.C. Everyone at the Jump would like to